Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
They had been unable to serve me with the ticket at home. So when I was parked on the highway, they recognized the vehicle registered to me. So they blocked me off with three RCMP vehicles, one beside me, one in front of me, one beside me. And then they started to pound on my door for me to accept the ticket. And finally, I wouldn't accept the ticket. So they put it on my windshield wiper. And I quickly started the windshield wiper activity and washed it away.
Manitoba continues to be one of the most restrictive coronavirus lockdown jurisdictions in North America. People in Manitoba are receiving expensive coronavirus tickets for trying to go to church, for having socially distant birthday get-togethers, for driving their vehicles with people from outside their household inside of the car with them, and even for singing in a public park. And if you try to protest any of these outrageous and draconian restrictions on free, innocent, and otherwise completely healthy people, well, you'll get a ticket for that too. Today, I'm introducing you to Dr. Jerry Bohemier. He's a former Winnipeg chiropractor who received a $1,300 ticket for protesting these ongoing violations on the civil liberties of Manitobans. Take a listen.
A young preacher was fed up with not having his congregation able to go to the church on Sunday.
Is that Pastor Tobias?
Pastor Tobias Thyssen, yes.
Yeah.
And so I had spoken with him at another Steinbach rally a month or so before, a few weeks before anyways. And so we got to know him, and he's just a wonderful gentleman, very soft-spoken and very eloquent and very principled individual. My kind of person, kind of. And although I don't belong to his church, I heard that he was going to have a rally at his church, and we were going to protest this idea of not allowing people to go to church on Sundays. And so I showed up. It was an event that was going to be broadcast over the FM station, a very narrow band FM station. So I arrived there, and there were about 10 RCMP cars, and therefore at least 20 RCMP officers on scene. The RCMP car had blocked the entrance off the Highway 12, the main highway in Manitoba that extends down into the States. And so you couldn't get into their parking lot, which was just opting out. This is in a very small town, Sardo, Manitoba. The church is outside of the little town of Sardo, and it's right on the main highway. So it's a property on the highway, nice looking church, big parking lot, and nobody was allowed in there. So people were gathering around and parking on the side of the highway, tuning in and listening to the service.
Okay, I just want to stop you right there because I think that's an important thing to note here. People were not gathering outside of their cars in a large group. People were sitting in their cars and listening to a broadcast by the church over the FM station, the way people used to listen to drive-in movies. So it's not like anybody was mixing. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think that's a very important point here.
It is, Sheila, very, very, very much so. And we were not allowed to gather in the parking lot to make it look like it was one of these movies like we used to go in the old days, the drive-in movies. So we were parked along the shoulder, on both sides of the shoulder of this highway, the main highway number 12. And everybody was in their car. And then all of a sudden, a tow truck showed up and started to be maneuvered by the RCMP to come and deal with a car, a van full of people. And it was a family. So there was a husband driving, the mother was in front seat, and there was a van full of children. And they had attempted to turn into the parking lot, which was blocked by an RCMP vehicle. And it was protesting basically because it blocked the highway at that point. It was right on there, and the police had ordered the tow truck to come and move this van. That's when I saw people start to leave their cars and gather near the van in protest of this tow truck approaching to try to take them away with them inside the van. That's dangerous, first of all.
Sure.
Okay? And so I decided to get out. And as I moved forward, I started to see that the RCMP were orchestrating the whole event, and they were about ready to move. So I got in between the van and the tow truck, and I was told to move by the RCMP, and I started yelling, saying, no, this is wrong. This is wrong. These people are coming to church. Leave the people, come to church. And then I started talking about the Criminal Code Section 176, which I had just found out about the day before. So it was very appropriate. And I told the officers, you are breaking the Criminal Code of Canada, Section 176. You're preventing people from going to church. You're preventing the preacher from receiving these people. That is a criminal offense, and you are committing it. That is wrong, and that is wrong. That's when it started. People all started gathering. One guy got up on his cell phone, Criminal Code of Canada, 176, and he started to show it. And people gathered, and people saw that it was real. That's when we started to see a little bit of relaxation of the RCMP, at least the young ones. And then the captain or the supervisor of that detachment was there. So he started talking, and I started talking back to him, and we started talking to the tow truck driver, telling him he's breaking the law, that he's not allowed to prevent people from going to church, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, the preacher, Tobias, eventually showed up and started to talk to the police. We were all talking to the police. We were all kind of loudly protesting that this family was not allowed to church. Leave the people come to church. Let these people come to church. And we started praying. Tobias put his hand on the van, and everybody put their hand on the van, and we prayed. And lo and behold, we saw that the RCMP motioned to the tow truck driver to remove his vehicle from there, and this is not going to happen. So it was kind of a minor victory, but the important thing is, by the very next week already, the government had stated that that gatherings in church, in the cars, like the drive-in movie kind of style, are going to be permitted. So I think that effort on the highway had an important impact as far as the media was concerned, because every media was there filming this whole event.
I think it embarrassed the state greatly, and I think it embarrassed the RCMP. When it's publicized what they're doing to this Christian church, where people are coming to worship, and they're threatening to tow away vans full of children because they're trying to go to church. I think it embarrassed the state, and I think you were a big part of that, which is why I think you probably got that ticket eventually.
Yeah, eventually they served it at our house. They came pounding at the doors. I don't know. They've hired. They look like ex-motorcycle gang kind of members to do the bidding of the health department. And these guys were big goons. They were pounding on the door to the point where the neighbors heard it. We would not answer the door. And the neighbors were even really afraid because of the amount of pounding. I think if it would have continued, they would have been able to knock that door down, because these new homes are not built with doors like they used to make. I mean, they're pretty flimsy. Anyways, it was very embarrassing for that. They show up with 3 or 4 police officers, 3 or 4 goons from the health department.
Jerry, you received a $1,296 fine. Is that correct?
I received 2 fines of $1,296.
Wow.
The first one was given to me on the highway when we were doing the church rally. And they had recognized my license plate. That's how they identify people.
Right.
And at that rally, I saw there was a young officer that his duty was just to write down all the license plates and everything. And so everybody at their rally eventually got a ticket because they identify us through our drivers, I think. So they had been unable to serve me with the ticket at home. So when I was parked on the highway, they recognized the vehicle, registered to me. So they blocked me off with 3 RCMP vehicles, one beside me, one in front of me, one beside me. And then they started to pound on my door for me to accept the ticket. And finally, I wouldn't accept the ticket, so they put it on my windshield wiper. and I quickly started the windshield wiper activity and washed it away. But nevertheless, I've got those tickets, and I'm going to deal with them.
Jerry, you've received $2,600 in fines for, I would suggest, doing the right thing. You were stopping a family from being towed away while they were still in their van, and for trying to go to a religious service. And as you point out, disrupting a religious service here in Canada is illegal. And if you had disrupted a religious service the way the RCMP disrupted Pastor Tobias's religious service, you would have received a charge for it. So that's why I am extending an offer to you to help you fight these fines at no cost to you. We're going to put you in touch with a top criminal lawyer. We're going to take these fines to court, and we're going to fight them because we think it is so important to put the government and the RCMP back in their rightful place. They have no business in our churches, and they have no business telling us where and when we can protest. Do you have a message for the people at home who are going to help crowdfund your legal fees here?
I hope that everybody will subscribe to your
Thank you.
publication, because I think that we have now lost all of proper journalism in mainstream media today, including our newspapers, and we are not getting the truth anymore on any issue.
Now you heard me say it. We're going to help Jerry fight his ticket, and you can help us do that by donating at fightthefines.com. Now we know we're going to spend way more on legal fees than the amount of the ticket. But that's not the point. It's time to put the government back in its place. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. If you have received a coronavirus ticket for doing something completely normal that the government of the day has now decided is illegal and dangerous, don't pay that ticket. Plead not guilty and fight it. Send it to us at fightthefines.com. And if you'd like to fund our ongoing legal efforts to defend civil liberties in Canada, you can do that too at that special website I just mentioned, fightthefines.com.